Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Farm Science Review Harvest Live. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Mary, and we're doing our soybean harvest this afternoon live. And you'll see that we've got several cameras set up throughout the harvest, and we're going to be able to take a look at the equipment from different angles and different perspectives. Yesterday, we did corn harvest live, and that video is still up on our YouTube channel if you missed it and you want to catch some of yesterday's corn harvest. So this is day 2, and we've got Nick Zachrich, our Farm Science Review Manager, out in the field to give us a little bit of an update before we get started with soybean harvest today.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. This is day 2 of Farm Science Review Online. This is the 58th annual Farm Science Review. The very first one was in 1963, and this is the very first one that is virtual, which has its pros and cons, but right now we're able to provide a little bit more content to you that we don't usually get to do as a staff. So we're excited about that, and we're happy to be able to share a little bit of information about what we do and how we do it. So it's a little bit of behind the scenes action for field demonstrations. So in 1963, we started those field demonstrations in the very first show. And now we're developed into quite a few different demonstrations. One of those being some tile installation. So hi, Amanda and Mary. Yeah, so I'm Nick Zachrich, manager at Farm Science Review. We do have a lot of information to be able to share with you today about field demonstrations and behind the scenes of what we actually do at Farm Science Review. So a little bit different this year, being virtual and being online. This is the very first one out of the 58 shows. This is the very first one that is virtual. So we're happy to be able to share a few things about the behind the scenes of what happened. So we have some drone footage from last night of some tile being installed from the Ohio Land Improvement Contractors Association. So they were able to provide a few demonstrations of what they typically do in a normal year, and we're able to get that drone footage. So we'll be able to get that up for you. And as you can see on the drone footage of what we're doing, we're installing some tile into one of the demonstration fields. So in a year that we typically would be doing some harvest in those fields, we're actually doing a little bit of tile installation into this off year. So typically what we do is have a starter hole, and then the tile plow or trencher starts in those holes. We connect to the main and be able to put those in. And those are all put in RTK. So what RTK means is a very accurate kind of GPS, and can have very accurate placement. So the other things that we do in field demonstrations, of course, is harvesting. So corn harvest yesterday and soybean harvest today. We'll be able to hear a little bit from Nate Doritas, our farm manager, on what he's doing and how well it's going here in the fields this year.
Thanks, Nick. And we appreciate what you guys do out here and all the hard work you've put in. And to our viewers right now, for those of you who are watching live, you can comment and ask questions. Also, if you guys want to comment where you're watching from, you'll be entered in a drawing to win one of these Farm Science Review 2020 shirts. You can also win one by signing up for a Map Your Show account at fsr.osu.edu.
That's right. We want this program to be as interactive as possible. So please do ask any questions that you might have in the comments. Now let's take it to Nate and see what Nate's up to in the field.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. As Mary and Amanda said, we are in the soybean field. This field was planted around April 22nd, and it's a 2.9 maturity group. So it's been ready for a little while here. We're out here combining. It's a little dry, so we have to be kind of careful of how it goes. But yeah, fairly pleased with the yields. We mentioned yesterday just a little over 9 inches of rainfall during the core part of the growing season. So we're kind of right in that 45 bushel average, and I think that's where we're going to come out of this field.
So Nate, we've got a question in the comments about how yields are looking in this area. And this isn't the first field you've cut of beans. So what are you seeing?
Yeah, we've finally seen some neighbors and other growers in the area get started with soybean harvest. We've been working on it for a little over a week now, and I mentioned how dry it was, and I think our early planting maybe helped us a little, but we're right around a 49-50 bushel average on soybeans so far. Soybean seed size has been good, but they're dry, right? They're very ripe, so 11% moisture or drier, and today I think we're below 10%. So just trying to get things harvested, make sure we do a good job in the field, and we'll see where the yields come out at the end of the season. If you give me a chance to turn around here, we'll talk a little bit about all the automation we've got on the combine. This is our same combine as yesterday, our S770 with a 35-foot flex draper. And we've got just about all the technology that's available to us on board on this combine. So of course we're using auto track to steer back and forth, but we've also are using Combine Advisor. So Combine Advisor is the automation side of the combine. And I'll see if I can give you a close-up of the screen here from the cab. We're able to do Harvest Smart, which is going to control our speed. And that speed is controlled by the parameters that we enter. We've also got the active terrain adjustment going, so the machine is adjusting the cleaning end of the machine based on the angle or slope. And we've also got auto maintain running, which is the combine's automatic adjustments to maintain the grain quality sample that we have set. So you can see there at the bottom, we've got all our preset numbers, and when they're in blue, they're making an automatic adjustment on the fly, and it'll do that all day long. So lots of great technology here, a partnership with our equipment provider, Agro, and they make sure we have the latest and greatest equipment and technology. So we'll be hitting the end of the field here pretty quick, and then we'll have a chance to dump on the go, and you'll be able to see machine sync. So we'll be able to have Michael kind of talk to us about that.
Right. So if you're just joining us, remember we're doing soybean harvest live right now at Farm Science Review. And if you ask us a question in the comments, we're monitoring those so we can answer those as they come in. And if you comment in the comments where you're watching from, you'll be entered to win a t-shirt like what we're all wearing here, a Farm Science Review 2020 t-shirt. So we do have some comments coming in of where people are watching. We have people, Mrs. Johnston's Ag Science class is watching from Zane Trace High School in Chillicothe, which is pretty cool. We have OSU Extension Paulding County watching. We have someone in New York at the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. So thanks for watching. If you want to win a t-shirt, please comment where you're watching from.
So now we see that you guys are dumping on the go. And Michael, you've got the machine sync technology. So share a little bit about how that works and makes you guys work even more efficiently.
Yep. So once again, thank you all for joining us today. We are in the 8RX John Deere pulling a Brent D11 grain cart. And the technology that we're using today is called machine sync. That gives us the ability to link the combine and the grain cart together. What that does is it allows you to place new operators in the grain cart, hands-free via auto steer, and it allows the combine driver to control the grain cart. He's able to bump me forward, bump me in reverse, left, right, based off the fill for the wagon.
right, so Nate, you're gonna go another round before we have Michael dump into the wagon then?
Yeah, that's right. We'll make a couple rounds here, and then we'll have enough for a wagon load. That wagon will then be headed up to the grain facility, and you guys will get a first-hand experience of what's going on up at the grain facility. And a lot of people ask us, where does the grain go at Farm Science Review? And what do we do with that? And if you joined us or saw us yesterday or get a chance to watch that corn harvest video, we have an intercollegiate partnership here with the Worcester Feed Mill, where they service all the animal operations and their feed needs, whether that be production or research or maintenance. And they consume a lot of corn through those animal operations. And we're happy to provide a significant amount of that through our partnership. And through that, about half of our corn production ends up staying within the college. The rest of it will go, to local sources here, where it may be turned into ethanol or, then DDGs and other products. And our soybeans today are most likely going to end up at a crush plant, and lots of opportunities there for the soybean product. They'll all be stored at the grain facility. We do have the ability to store all of our grain at harvest right here on site at the facility. Michael's responsibilities there. You'll be able to see some of the things that he has to work with and manage. And like I said, once the wagon goes up there, you'll be able to see that firsthand today.
So we did have a question come in about where the proceeds, quotes, go from FSR field demos. So Nick, maybe you want to talk about how you guys you operate pretty similar to your normal farm on that side of things.
That's correct. So we do operate the Molly Caren Ag Center as a typical farm would. So we have Farm Science Review, and then we have the farm operation. Those two pieces are where our main funding comes from for everything that we do, from our salaries all the way to maintaining roads within the exhibit area and updating electricity and all those things. And we do have a great partnership with AgPro and John Deere to have us, some really nice equipment. And we also get some great donations from other folks like J&M Manufacturing and Onberfirth and EB, and I'll miss a few if I keep talking. So I'll just stop there and know that there's a lot of donors that help support what we do. So we do have some extra funds to be able to do some neat things on the farm. Some of that goes to some of that tiling that goes on. So we get a lot of help from that, but we also are buying extra control structures and the water gates and things like that aren't donated. So there's a lot of things that we're doing with that to help build the facility. And then also to improve the farm operation as well. So there's a lot of things we do with that. Most people think we're part of Ohio State, so we have access to a lot of state funds. Well, we're completely self-sufficient. We're an earnings unit for the university. So we actually help support the mission and education that happens at Ohio State for a very small percentage. But we do get a lot back from the university for that. So being a department of the College of Food, Agriculture, Environmental Sciences has major advantages that help us out with a lot of different things that we need and have access to a lot of educators and researchers to help do some extra projects on the site. So there are a lot of things happening at the Molly Caren Ag Center outside of Farm Science Review, and the funds help support all of those activities.
We have a comment from YouTube that they're impressed with the combine operator's ability to talk while harvesting. So Nate, this year, as we've been sort of scouting fields at Extension, in soybeans, we haven't seen a lot of disease pressure or insect pressure too much. We're starting to do our county weed surveys right now. What have been the big issues for you in the field this year as far as diseases, insects, and weeds?
Yeah, that's right, Mary. Weed control is certainly one of the things that we all really need to focus on and correct any issues or or challenges that we may have in our own region. For us, we've been, I think we've probably been pretty aggressive with weed control strategies. We have been using a post residual, so that has really helped kind of keep things clean longer in the season. But even with that, we have noticed that this year it was really dry. Some of the beans were planted a little later, so we may not have canopied quite as early. And we had some late escapes and late emerged weeds. And mare's tail certainly is just kind of that nuisance one that's on everybody's list, right? We've been fortunate to have a very limited amount of water hemp on our farm, something that we need to continue to watch for and adjust our herbicide program for, especially here in the next few years. So, my two are going to be water hemp and mare's tail. We've got a lot of options out there from seed technology that we can choose in herbicide programs to some very good and robust residual herbicides. So those are all good choices. And if you haven't been out in your field late in the season, when you wait till harvest to look at those, it's too late. So just make sure you're keeping up on all those.
Now, for those of you that have any questions about some of these issues, weed control or disease control, or any pest control issues in corn or soybeans, we do have a live Q&A every morning at Farm Science Review. Tomorrow will be our last morning with our agronomy specialists. So we'll have Mark Blaux, who's our weed scientist at OSU Extension. We'll have Ann Dorrance, who's our soybean pathologist. We have a bunch of specialists that have been getting on every morning, and they're available to answer any questions you might have about weed ID or disease management or anything like that. So it's that 7:30 every morning. So 7:30 tomorrow morning is our last live Q&A at the agronomy team's area at Farm Science Review. We have a couple ag classes joining. We have Covington FFA chapter online, and we have another ag class in New Rigel. So that's pretty cool. We've got all these ag classrooms joining.
Glad to have you guys on. Sure, it's not quite as fun as getting on a bus and bringing your class out, but we still appreciate you guys participating with us. All right, so it looks like Michael's full in the grain cart, so he's going to go dump into the wagon.
Yeah, Mary and Amanda, I will mention, I in my role now as a manager, I don't get in the tractor seat as much as I used to. I did have the opportunity to drive the 8RX that Michael's in today, just this past week. And the differences there on those machines is it's so much easier to pull up to a wagon or a truck when you're going to unload a grain cart now. There are some different transmission options to be able to shift and change a little bit differently. So, the equipment that I'm used to driving, is more of the power shift type transmission where you're shifting gears, or even if you're just clicking gears, where this one's more of a joystick, almost like a hydrostatic. If people are used to a combine, or a lot of people at home have hydrostatic lawnmowers where you're pushing a lever, and the faster the more you push, the faster you go, or the less you push it, the slower you go. And some of that's true there with the variable transmission that's in these machines now. So it makes it a lot easier pulling up to the wagons, and it's really nice to unload that way.
All right, Allie's taking the load over to the grain bin system. So Nate or Michael, if you want to tell us a little bit more about some of the improvements that you've made over there. I'll apologize, I mispronounced the ag classroom that's in New Recall. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mary and Amanda, back the wagon is headed up to the grain facility, like you mentioned. We've made some major renovations to the grain facility over the last few years. We talked a little bit about it yesterday when Nick announced the Hall of Fame award recipients, and there's been some donations and partnerships there with MRC Sales and Service and Mike Miller. That's his company, and he's local here to London. And they put a lot of work into that facility lately. We started with a major expansion a few years ago where we updated 2 large storage bins to commercial scale bins, and with that some other grain handling. So now we're just less than 200,000 bushel storage here on the farm, which allows us to harvest the entire corn and soybean crop and have a little bit of room in there for our future expansion. And you'll get to see some of the details there as they bring that load in, and I'll let Michael fill you in on some of the specifics that he works with day to day up there.
Thanks, Nate. So day to day, we want to make the best grain facility that we can have, so that when you guys come, you can see the upgrades that we've made to try to make improvements for your operation at home. So the difficult thing with this is we also have to be able to update our grain facility to be able to handle 17 combines, 17 wagons for those 3 days of farm science review each year. Having simultaneous dump pits, one for corn and one for soybeans, that gives us the ability to be able to do that. Also, working with MRC and Automation Zone, we have been able to run our dryer simultaneously. So what that means is when one of our bins becomes full that dumps into the dryer, we have that automation that goes ahead and it empties our wet bin into our dryer bin, and it's able to run that corn 24/7. So we don't have to sit there and babysit it. We're able to just set it at night when we leave, come back in the morning, and the grain will already be dry and be set. Also, some improvements we made this year is we have an automatic spillover system. Once one of our bins becomes full, it's got 2 different options that we can pick on dumping corn into whatever bin we would like to. And once that bin becomes full, it automatically dumps over into the next bin. So what that means is that dryer bin will always be full when you come back and dump a load of corn for the next round.
Okay, it looks like Kaylee's in place to see the wagon coming into the system. Maybe we can get a look at that. All right, so Allie's pulling into dump now. Looks like Matt's got a camera on her. There we
So
have a better view.
here is she's pulling into our grain facility. She's going to take a weight of the grain, they're the wagon and the grain, and then we will have a tear weight for that wagon. And then once she's recorded that weight, she'll move to the other side where our bean pit is located, and she'll dump the beans into that pit. Once she starts dumping the beans in that pit, she's going to take a moisture sample and get an accurate moisture, get an accurate temperature, and get an accurate test weight of the grain.
So Michael, do you do that for every load that goes through your handling system?
Yes, we try to do that with every corn load that goes through the system, and then beans we try to do either two moisture readings per field. It just depends on the type of day. If we've got a moist morning, or it's getting late at night, things like that. But most of the time, soybeans, they tend to have the same moisture throughout the day. Where corn, it can change based off of hills and valleys in your fields.
So if you're just joining us, we're watching soybean harvest live in alleys at our grain bins, unloading a load of soybeans.
Mary, there's one question I get pretty frequently too is, for the size of our operation, we could utilize semis. So why are we still using wagons? And one of those reasons is our land is all in very close proximity to our grain system. So as we harvest, it's pretty easy for us to pull wagons in and out of fields and be able to pull them, less than 2 miles in every direction to our grain facility. So it makes it a lot easier for us to be able to pull wagons than handling semis.
Hey, Mary and Amanda, this is Nate. We just finished that field. It's an 11-acre field, and we came in just right at 10% moisture and almost 47 bushel average. I've kind of got it pulled up on my screen here so that everybody can see the snapshot from the combine on the yield data.
Thanks, Nate.
Yeah, that's cool. We did have a question come in on where you take your grain to market.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that, of course. But these soybeans, I believe, these are going to end up probably at Sydney at the Cargill location. And they will probably go out February or March of 2021.
For people who are interested in grain marketing, we have had a grain marketing talk offered every day at the Ask an Expert area with Ben Brown. It's called something like How to Get $4 Corn. And he's got today's and yesterday's presentations recorded, and he'll be doing it again tomorrow too. And we'll be talking with Ben tomorrow on Facebook Live also.
I just want to give a shout out to the Farm Science Review staff. It's all hands on deck, and it doesn't matter what your normal job duties have been this week. You guys have been great to be out there in the field and bring us this live feed with harvest. So we appreciate that.
I do have a question for Nate that I've got come in. So Nate, usually at Farm Science Review, you have an opportunity to walk around and see some exhibitors yourself as the farm manager at the Molly Caren Ag Center. What things are you looking at this fall that you're thinking about, going towards next spring, having missed the farm show now?
Yeah, like all the growers, right, that we like to have come to our facility, and non-farmers also, right? We use those opportunities to come to the farm shows to look for the new products, technology, education at the same time. And I think where we're kind of focused right now is in some uncertain times, especially on the corn side. What can we do to kind of tighten up our budgets there and get the most from every acre, and weather being one of those challenges that we just have to deal with. Do you have a good weather service or access to good current weather, and is that on a daily basis those times a year where you need it? And there's lots of exhibitors that we have that can provide weather stations and weather information. We've got a great resource at Ohio State. Dr. Aaron Wilson has got some really cool things that you can check out. But just what's everybody have for staying updated on the most current weather conditions, and then what does your operation need to do to transition into these growing seasons that we have, where during planting and harvest the windows are so short? Do you need to look at a set of tracks on a certain planting or harvest operation, or flotation tires, something there that can help mitigate compaction, yet give you an opportunity to get in when these windows are so small. And then on the technology side, nutrient management is certainly something we focused on, and we want to continue to find a way to supply the crop and the soil with the right amount of nutrients that may not be available there already in the growing season. And there's a whole suite of sensors and companies that are able to provide some digital tools that we have, and the Precision Ag team has lots of information and some e-fields work that's ongoing on that. And we're kind of excited to see where the sensor market goes, both wireless, wired, edge of field, and in-field. So those would all be things that you should check out.
All right, well, I think we've addressed all the questions in the comments section. Nick, any last words before we wrap up Harvest Live?
Yeah, I just have a quick close and want to thank everybody for their participation. There's thousands of people joining us online at Farm Science Review Online for the presentations, and many of those will be recorded. So come back to Farm Science Review Online every so often and check out to see what new content is going to be available. Whether it's a recorded session from this week itself, or if there's new content coming in, either from us or from our exhibitors. So we look forward to keep communicating with you and sharing a little bit more about what's happening in the agricultural industry, and keeping everybody up to date with what our exhibitors have to offer. So thank you very much, and we'll see you in 2021 for the Farm Science Review, hopefully in person.